Hi, I'm Sherry from Whole Circle Studio, and welcome to the Greenhouse Garden Block of the Month and so along. I'm so happy that you're here. Today, I'm going to give you some tips as you begin to make your 11th greenhouse garden block. In addition to this video, be sure to refer to the tips included in the pattern, as well as the links below to additional video tutorials. Before you start working on this block, I suggest getting into a mindset that this one might take a little bit longer to make. There are a good number of paper pieces needed to achieve this wild fern. Get your favorite beverage close by, maybe put on your favorite show or music, and enjoy the process. Your reward at the end will be a beautiful detailed block. Let's get started. I have some tips to help make piecing this block a bit easier. I reviewed this tip previously, but I wanted to demonstrate it again on these funky angles, since I found it was really helpful to ensure that my fabric wasn't short after I sewed on my section. The first thing I'm going to do is I covered section 1 with my fabric, and now I'm going to fold back the line that I'm going to sew on. So I have 1 and I want to sew on 2. So that would be this line right here. And I'll just go ahead and take my old room card or a credit card, something very thin, and I'll go ahead and fold back the line. I can then go ahead and cut off this seam allowance by 1/4 inch just to get it out of the way. This is the seam allowance from section 1, my previous section. I then go ahead and hold up my paper piece to a light source, or I can kind of just hold it at an angle. And I'm going to outline from the back side of the paper, the non-printed side, where section 2 is on the reverse. So just roughly, I could see that that is section 2. I then go ahead and I just put my fabrics correct side to correct side. I don't really worry about orientation right now. If I really wanted to be nitpicky, I can align the raw edges, but not necessarily at this point. So again, correct side to correct side. I'll fold back the paper. And here, what I want to do is using X-ray vision is sort of looking through the paper and see where it is on the green fabric. That's my section 2 fabric. And I could see here that it goes off the edge of that green fabric. So that's going to be short. If I went ahead and just opened this up and sewed on that line, when I then cut my seam allowance and flipped everything over, it would be short over here, because it doesn't quite cover. So here I'll just go ahead and adjust. Again, I could put the raw side edges together, or I could leave it a little bit short. And so I adjusted this, and again, I could see this is section 2, and using X-ray vision for the green fabric, that I can see, or even just flipping it back, I can see that that green fabric covers that whole shape and then some. I want to go off the edges by at least 1/4 inch. I like to do a little bit more than that, just have a little bit of leeway. 3/8 inch is great, or a little bit more if you're new to paper piecing. So again, I could see that that shape is completely covered by that green. If I wanted to get really nitpicky, I can go ahead and align the raw edges, or I can just trim that green off later. I would then go ahead and open up the paper, and I would move this over to my machine. And I would start sewing right here. Back stitch or stitch in place I like to do in order to secure that stitches. And I would go all the way to the edge of the paper and back stitch or stitch in place here. I would sew it, flip it over. If there was any extra seam allowance, trim it. And then I could flip the fabric back, press it, and my section 2 is covered. I can't wait to see your blocks come together. Thanks again for being here and for sewing along with us. I'll be back next month with even more tips. In the meantime, be sure to share your progress on Instagram using the greenhouse garden hashtags found on the pattern, and tag me so I'm sure to see what you're working on. Or I'd love for you to email me photos of your block. My email address can be found in the pattern. See you next month, and happy sewing!